All right. Oops, here we are. Don't know if you guys heard that. So a big thank you to everyone for getting here. Truly humbled by your presence, just from the list of all the attendees that I got. I saw there are people from far and wide, from Whangarei, you know, to Taupo, to Sport Taranaki, Sport Bay of Plenty, all those sport organisations. So awesome to have you guys all on board. So welcome to Finding Tau. So Tau or Taurite is the Māori philosophy of balance, which is going to be a common theme for a lot of what we're going to have a look at today. A bit of a timeline of today, so I'm going to start with a bit of an introduction into why have a local or a school curriculum. Probably the most important part of this webinar is our breakout rooms that we're going to have when we're looking at developing local curriculum with a start with the why approach. After that, hopefully we'll have some good conversations post breakout rooms. After that, I'll share with everyone our current health and PE framework, our Taurite model that we have here at Whakarongo School. And depending on how much time we have afterwards, I've got another potential breakout, but if we're pushed for time, which I think we might be, I'll have a little bit of time left over for some follow-up questions. So, local or school curriculum, as they used to be called, it clearly shows that I haven't been around quite as long to realise that it was called a school curriculum. So basically, a local curriculum or a school curriculum is your school's adaptation of the national curriculum. I mean, no two schools are the same. It makes sense that we have different adaptations of all areas of our curriculum within our school as to what works best for our ākonga, our staff, and our learning communities. So why localise the health and PE curriculum? Well, in its own right, it's a really important curriculum that often, especially in primary and intermediate, can sometimes be sort of put on the back burner a bit by other curriculum areas, particularly if you've got staff that aren't overly passionate about it. So localising your curriculum, at the very least, it starts a really important conversation. You know, being able to find consensus within a staff as to what your particular kura, what your particular community, what your particular ākonga would respond to in terms of health and PE teaching. It makes the learning more accessible and tailored to the needs of the community, kura, kaiako, and ākonga. And, you know, it's made to be adapted. It's about schools being autonomous in the way that they deliver their curriculum, and it's a really awesome opportunity to tailor-make the health and PE curriculum for your school, so it's a lot more accessible, it's a lot more meaningful to those that both teach it and to those that learn it. So where to start? That's really up to your school, whether you want it to start off with your leadership, if you've got a health and PE curriculum team, or whether you want to start off developing a local curriculum with your whole staff. It's just up to how schools best best want to run it. But something that I would suggest if you are looking at developing a local health and PE curriculum is to start with the why. Now, a lot of educators might be familiar with the Simon Sinek Start with the Why. If you're not overly familiar with it, I'd suggest that you have a read of his Start with the Why book. It is fantastic. It actually started off as a bit more of a business model, so aimed at businesses looking at developing a purpose within businesses. And I wouldn't often condone business models with school, but there are a lot of really, really important learnings within his Start with the Why, and particularly his what he calls his golden circle. So a lot of businesses and a lot of schools, for that matter, in relation to the health and PE curriculum, they you have teachers that know what health and PE is, and if they're fairly confident and able, they'll know how to deliver that fairly effectively. But what a lot of teachers might forego is the why. So the why is our purpose. And so a lot of school organisations, particularly within the health and PE curriculum, they will start with the what, start with their learning and start by looking at the national curriculum and basically look at how to deliver that. But what that skips out is a really, really important aspect, and that is why we do health and PE in the first place. So what Simon Sinek suggests that we do is we start with the why, to go from an inside out model. So our why is the purpose, our cause or belief behind what we're doing. From there, once we've developed the purpose, we can look at how to actually action it, okay? That's the, as it says there, the actions taken to realise the why, as opposed to realising just the what it is. And once you've got your purpose, once you've got your vision, once you've got the vessel and the I guess, learnings behind how you'll actually implement it, that's when you can actually look at what it might look like within your kura. So the product, service, or job function, in our case, it is the actual learning. So this, once we start with the why, once we start with our purpose, that what is actually tangible evidence and proof of that purpose. So starting with the why, so what we're going to do now is, in a moment, we're going to be going into breakout rooms. So we'll have about 5 minutes within these breakout rooms to discuss each part. So like I said, we're going to be starting with the why. So we're going to be starting with our purpose. A why gives us the opportunity to identify what is both important to and representative of our kura and our kura community. And it puts our learners at the centre and provides a platform to produce learning relative to them. So some things to remember when we get into our first breakout. So there'll be about 5 minutes, and we will have about 5 people per breakout room. So it's a good opportunity to sort of turn your microphones off and have a bit of a chat to people from, you know, all around the country. And once starting with the why, I want you to think about the purpose of health and PE within your school community. So as you discuss your why, have a think about these questions, and you might want to take a screenshot or take a quick photo of these if you're stuck to something to talk about within your why breakout. So as a kaiako or agent of change, I like to call, because there's obviously a reason you guys are here today. What is your view, or what are your views on the purpose of health and PE? What are your Whakarongo set to gain from participating in regular health and PE at your school? What specific aspects of your school community can be enhanced through a health and PE lens? And the last one's a bit of an interesting one. Why have you given up your time to be here today? Okay, so that's not like a real probing question, but there's obviously a reason that we have so many wonderful educators here today listening to this webinar. So have a think about that when you're talking about your why. So, well, we might get moving on then. Oh, there we go. So do you have any examples of moving teachers' attitudes from sending the kids out to run around the field for PE while they watch, to getting involved in moving with the kids in meaningful games or activities? It's a very good question. I have a bit of time set up at the end of this for questions, but just in terms of examples of moving teacher attitudes and sending kids out to run around the field for PE. So I think that's a big thing about the why. You know, what's the purpose? What purpose does sending kids out to run around the field do? We've actually done a big change with the way that we do our cross country, and that is with looking at the why as the basis for that. We realise that student attitudes towards it, it's not building perseverance. A big argument is that it builds perseverance, it builds character, it builds stamina, where really it takes away a child, some children, should I say, want to move. So I'll actually go into a bit of answering that when we go over our our school model because it addresses that directly. That's a really good question, Sarah. In our group, it was mentioned they changed the name Health and PE to Wellbeing. And absolutely, I like to see Health and PE as basically wellbeing education because it all links to that. In our Health and PE curriculum, we have got Mason Jury, Safari Tafawha, which looks at 4 dimensions of wellbeing. But yeah, definitely, you know, if that's what helps your school out by viewing it as wellbeing education, then go for it. Just making sure that you identify physical education as a important part of that because you know, developing bodies and developing movement skills is all really important to that wellbeing side as well. But awesome, guys. So looking at the why next. So once a clear vision and purpose is established, looking at the actions taken to achieve that purpose is the next logical step. So having a really purposeful kura reflective curriculum is great, but delivering it is also another really important step. And it can be just as distinctive and school specific as the purpose itself. So we're about to get into another breakout room. So this one's going to be looking at the how. So once we've got our purpose, it's how are we delivering it. So here's a few more questions. Once again, if you want to take a quick photo or screenshot for your breakouts, they'll be a little bit shorter this time because we thought, yeah, we might just limit the time a bit because we are getting through it very quickly. So think about the delivery of your health and PE vision and purpose, and the purpose of your school and community. Discuss how with your breakout group, and the following questions might help. So how do your Whakarongo best learn? And once again, we might find really diverse answers within this. How can you monitor whether your purpose is being achieved? What resources, spaces, and expertise do you have available in your school? And what expectations do your school leadership and community have in regards to health and PE? All of these could either be real enhancers or real barriers to how you deliver that purpose, but it's also really important to have that conversation. So looking at the what, so this is often where some educators start, some could have start in their delivery of the health and PE curriculum, but now that we've got a purpose, a vision, and way of achieving that, it's important to identify the tangible proof. So the evidence of our purpose through connections to our actual teaching and learning. So this is where a lot of the links to our national New Zealand health and PE curriculum actually come into the foray. But I like to, I do like to start with the why and then the how, just because you know, we've all had it. We've had you know, curriculum meetings where we're expected to comb through for ideas within parts of our national curriculum, and it can be a little bit tiresome. But when we've actually got the purpose behind it, it actually becomes a lot more invigorating. So a few questions to look at, and we'll do another 4-minute breakout room. So discussing what exactly health and PE lessons reflective of our intended purpose could look like at your kura. So what visible differences could you see with, you know, purposeful health PE lessons at your kura? What could they look like? What concrete connections can you make between your purpose and the delivery of our national curriculum? And what can you do to sustain any positive changes that you make through your local curriculum? So that's a really important one. So once you've got a vision, once you've got the means to be able to have that purpose within your learning, how can you sustain it? So what can you actually do to sustain any positive changes you make through your local curriculum? So so yeah, we had a pretty good conversation in our breakout room, just looking at you know, the disassociation that we need to sort of do with school, I guess, inter-school sports calendars, and making sure that our health and PE curriculum, the what looks like a lot less sport driven and, you know, calendar driven as it is, you know, looking at how accessible our learning and inclusive our learning is for our learners. So awesome, guys. So what I'll just get the time. So we've got about 4 minutes or so. So I'll shoot through this as quickly as I can. So this is our model that we developed at Whakarongo School. So it's called the Taurito model, which is, as I said before, looking at balance. So at Whakarongo School, we use health and PE as an important way for our ākonga to understand and discover balance within their lives. That was the common theme. That was sort of our why. The following model is made to represent a balanced approach to both teaching and learning, and it incorporates the start for why philosophies as well as other philosophies within the health and PE national curriculum, such as Te Whare Whakawhā. So this is what we'd normally have to I guess, identify the needs within a curriculum area at our school. And so it is important to start looking at principles, and this in itself creates really good discussion within our health and PE curriculum team and key indicators of effective learning and teaching. But we thought that we would go one better. So I will share these slides out with all of our attendees so you can have a look a little bit more in depth. But we are a little bit stretched for time, so I'll quickly go through. So and also had our planning and assessment expectations as well. But we thought we'd do one better. We thought we'd make a model. So we had obviously our start with the why, so looking at the underlying concepts, and this a lot came straight from the actual curriculum itself, looking at the concepts of haora, social awareness, health promotion, and the Whakarongo Kid, which is our values system that we have at our school. So that's our sort of school connection to the curriculum. So our purpose was represented by the cornerstone. So the supporting stone, starting with the purpose, helps our particles to inspire action, to be agents of change. And at Whakarongo School, we believe that participating in regular physical activity, learning about their own well-being, exploring life balance is physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually beneficial to all ākonga. These beliefs can be split into the four underlying health and physical education concepts. So, like I said, a lot of this is directly from the curriculum. It's not that we have to completely reinvent the wheel, but it's just phrasing it in a way that is understandable by your staff, by your community, and most importantly by your ākonga. So that was our purpose. Now our how was a lot more, I guess, school focused. So our process, our how, was represented by the support stone of the Taurika model. So leading on from our purpose, the way we plan and implement health and PE at Whakarongo School revolves around our what we call our care principles. So when our health and PE is being delivered to our ākonga, we expect it to be collaborative, so that ākonga get the opportunity to collaborate with peers and kaiako. That social element, as we know, is really important to engagement in health and PE. Accessibility, once again, super crucial, making sure that learning related to health and PE is accessible to everyone, regardless of skill, abilities, knowledge, and looking at, high ceiling, low floor activities that can meet the diverse needs of our ākonga. The R, that process of our care principles is relevant, so teaching is achieved through contexts that are relevant to our ākonga, and I think that was sort of what we talked in our breakout group just before, about making sure that we don't just base it on sport, that there are so many other meaningful, engaging contexts for our learning than just sport, and developing, a curriculum where we look at things that are relevant to our ākonga means that engagement will be a lot healthier. And finally, enjoyableness. So learning is engaging and enjoyable for students. It's introduced through context that reflects student interests, and student voice is collected to enhance the learning experience. Because a lot of the time we can forget that, some of the most engaging, the ways that we can engage our ākonga the most is for them to be active in the actual planning of it. So seeing what sort of things that they're interested in, ways that they like to move in. And finally, the results. So the why, our results are represented through the balance stones on top of the Taurika model. Our teaching, supported by our process and purpose, cover the four main strands of the health and PE education curriculum. So once again, this is linked directly to our national curriculum, but in a way that is, I guess, influenced by our purpose and by the way that we actually deliver our content. So I hope that answers your question, Sarah, about examples of moving teachers' attitudes from sending the kids out to run around. You just take them back to that process. So looking at, is running collaborative? Are they getting a chance to expand their, social circles around the social aspects and elements of their learning? Is it accessible to everyone? Is everyone able to access, just running around the field? What links is that to their own well-being, even physical well-being? You can find that it's really detrimental to the confidence of some, and as a result, they can be less active later in their life because of harmful experiences like making them run for extended amounts of times when they're not, when it's not something that they enjoy. And what's the relevance in running around a field? How can they relate that to their lives and to their communities? And at the very pinnacle of that, is it enjoyable? Are kids going to want to go out? You might get some that are really into it, but that's when you need to diversify the learning so you have options. Right, so we've gone a little bit over our time. So I will share these slides out. So I had another activity there, and I don't know if we'll have any time for questions, but if you have any questions about any of this or anything else, because I really do enjoy the professional development opportunities like this where I get to share knowledge and understanding. And I mean, I'm just a teacher. I'm just one of you guys, but like the community that is within our the passion that we have for this curriculum area is really fruitful. And I'd suggest if you're not on Twitter or are not part of Physical Education New Zealand, make sure you get into it, because there's some brilliant stuff that will really help your the way that you deliver your learning at your school. Thanks guys. Once again, really humbled to have you guys spend your time listening to me and discussing such important things with each other. Hopefully I get the opportunity to do this a lot more in the future as well. And thanks again to Tanya for helping me with the breakout rooms and everything. So that I thought was really cool.
Kia ora, Tom. Thank you so much. Very humble, not just a classroom teacher, but someone who's really led their school into thinking about what's important to their students in your local community. And I really liked the way you used the Simon Sinek model, but then you created your own framework based on that. I love the fact that enjoyment was in the process. That's great to see. Thank you for the questions that you asked and for everyone's participation in the breakout rooms. This webinar series is all about creating connections. So if you've had some conversations with some different people, sorry, Dean, I didn't quite get the breakout rooms as random as I thought I had. But that was part of our aim, was to get people talking and sharing. We have recorded this, but breakout rooms don't tend to record very well. So we will share the slides. Thank you, Tom, for that. And if you haven't watched Tom or had a look on his Twitter, got lots of great ideas, really inspirational, and I do recommend that. Our session next week is facilitated by Kate Rhodes, and the topic is changing the narrative around food, nutrition, and well-being for our children. So that's May the 25th at 3:30, same time, and you'll need to register for that on our website. Thank you, Tom. Thank you to everyone who participated, and we hope to see you again in one of these series shortly. Bye.
Kia ora,